Hello everybody, it's Margaret here with 60andMe. Thanks for being here. Hope that you're doing great wherever you are, and I just want you to know how much I appreciate you all and how much you're valued. Our 60andMe community is for women over 60 who are aging beautifully and looking at this chapter of their lives with positivity and optimism and, trying to create passion and purpose in a life that has shifted as we get into our 60s. Now, we all have unique stories. And the video I want to do today is about how to tell your story and why it's so important to sit down and write a legacy document, whether it's a story or a poem or whatever it is, just something that your family and your friends and people that are important to you could look back on and say, yeah, that was Margaret. Those are the things that she loved to do, that she did, that she thinks she did well, that she, wants to tell us about the background to where she ended up and what kind of decisions she made along the way, what crossroads, where she made big decisions, and just help your grandchildren, your own adult children, friends, people that just wanted to get to know you. Just give them some context about your life. Now, Jill Morris is one of our amazing bloggers, and she is a coach, a writing coach, and I think her title is memoir teacher. And she is a great believer in telling your story in a memoir, in a legacy memoir, and using it as an opportunity not only to share, but to learn about yourself. And I think that is such a powerful opportunity that we have. We get to go about our lives, be very, very busy and keeping active, traveling, working, just developing this last chapter of our lives. But we actually don't look back and think, wow, what did I do well? Where did I make mistakes? What did I learn from those mistakes? And how am I going to make that part of who I am as I go forward? And I think and I'm looking at my notes because there was one thing I highlighted from her article, which was, it's of course for family and grandchildren and so on, but it's also for the generations yet to come. And when I look back at my life, and I think I've mentioned this before in previous videos, I didn't know my mom very well. She died when I was 18, and how you are when teenagers, you just don't ask a lot of questions. And I never knew much about her life. I knew that she'd lived through the war. I knew that I knew her sister and her brothers. I knew a bit of her family background, but I didn't know her. I knew that she was a kind and loving woman and that she really loved her family. She made a lot of sacrifices for her family. But anyway, I didn't know her. I didn't have anything to read. I have 3 pictures, and probably some of you are in a similar situation with your family. You have just so little to remember or to know about what they were. My dad, he fought in the war. He had many experiences, I'm sure, that were just life-changing and I could have learned from. But you just don't ask. So anyway, so a legacy letter, not just for now, but for the future as well. So why do this? Okay, there's 3 reasons that Jill talks about. First of all, for you. Do it for you. And as I mentioned earlier, do it for you so that you can understand your mistakes. You can look at where you made a decision that could have gone a different way, but you made it and you lived with it and you adapted with it. And how you dealt with loss, and change and sadness and joy. When you write these things down, they actually bring into focus all the things that occurred in your life that were challenging, and how you got to where you are, and how you get closure. Closure on the things that maybe were sad or painful, and you can just move forward. So I think that's one reason that you just do it for yourself. And I actually have practice. I don't know whether anybody else ever does this, but on my birthday, I always go somewhere, maybe go even a little trip or something, and I just sit down and I try to remember from my very first memory through my years, through all the things I remember doing, experiencing, and usually I'm sort of in tears at some points along the way because something happened, that I lost something or I lost someone, and or something happened or didn't happen. I didn't get the job, I did get the job, all those things. Anyway, so do the legacy letter for yourself. Do it to leave a legacy. How many times now in this busy world that we live in do we get to sit down with our children, our adult children or grandchildren, and just chat? Maybe you're a family that does that, and I admire you for it. I know you have to put a lot of work into keeping relationships and family together as you age and get older. But, just sharing where you came from, where you were born. I was born in London. I was born in a place called Acton, which at that time was a very poor part of town, and that was my childhood. I didn't have a lot. We moved to Canada. I can tell my story of the adventure on the ship where we crossed and what my life was like in a small town, living on a lake in a northern remote place in Canada. Make a start. You don't have to write it all today. Just write it one little step at a time. And excuse me, but I've got my cold coming back to me here, and it's just been here with me for a couple of weeks, and it'll go away sometime. Anyway, so there will be a time when you'll be able to sit down and write it all out in great detail, but just do it now for the purpose of leaving a legacy, so that when your adult children or your grandkids or friends just want to know more about you, it's there. You can share it with whoever you want. And there are some apps. I probably should have got some, Jill, to put some apps that you can go online now and like a fill in the blanks legacy document. So the third and final thing is to create a family history. And now a lot of people are into Ancestry, and even I was at 23andMe, which is a DNA analysis where you can actually try to find family members, but do it for that third reason, which is to preserve your family history. It's really fascinating, especially with grandchildren, I have found, to tell them the things you had as a child, to preserve what your family, where it came from. Like, as I mentioned earlier, we didn't have a lot of money. And so I learned to be resourceful and grateful, and it did affect me with money all my life. And I think we've talked about that in other videos, but it's just that kind of what impacted you. Tell them about that world, that culture, that lifestyle that you lived. I mean, we're all bohemians, weren't we, in the 60s? I mean, if you're in your 60s now, you guaranteed you wore bell bottoms at some point. You had long earrings and beads, and you were all coming back full circle, which is kind of cool. But we had an interesting past. The world was a different place. It was freer in the sense that you could move easier. You didn't have the same restrictions, and we certainly didn't have the pandemic that we've all experienced. So, but we did things like, for example, just the simple things like the television. I mean, I can't even, my grandson doesn't understand when I talk about black and white television and not having a remote control. You're not having a computer, not having internet. Oh my gosh, what did we do without internet? Our travel stories, where we went when we were younger. And I always love to share my crazy stories because I love to travel all my life. But I remember when I was in my early 20s, I think just a few years after my mom had died, I actually went to India, and I had literally $300 in my pocket. I wore a sari, moved around. I didn't know anybody. I don't know how I had the nerve. I got to Delhi, and if anybody's traveled in India, New Delhi now is a huge city. When I got there, it was a dirt road from the airport to the city. It was a city, but a small city. And I remember just the adventure of that, and taxi drivers taking you to the wrong place, and just the brave things that we did. And they think, Baba, you did that? It's like, wow, that was really cool. You traveled by yourself in India. And it's like, yeah, I think a lot of women did things, not maybe that, but something, that maybe wasn't expected. I'm just watching, my sun is coming out, and I'm going to just put some air on me because it's really, really warm. Even though it's, late in the season and the year, it's still kind of beautiful and hot. Anyway, I think that the most important thing now is that once you've decided it's one of these three reasons applies to you, how do you do it? Well, you can do it chronologically, just basically take 10 minutes a day and just decide you're going to do this, and do it chronologically. Just write your story maybe in year, like 1 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15. Don't try to do it like year by year. That's kind of stressful. Or maybe you can do it. But Jill suggests you do like in those groupings, like 1 to 5. You can create a structure by themes, life themes, like places you've lived. That would be a really cool theme to do. Or you could write it, decision-making map. So times in your life where you had a big decision and you stood there at the crossroad and you went this way or that way. So you can arrange it, chronologically, theme-wise, topical-wise. But whatever you do, I would really love to see you trying it, and leave your comments below if you have done this, or if this has inspired you to think about it and to get out there and try to write your legacy for yourself, for your family, and for the future generations to come. If you've enjoyed this video, please like it, give us a thumbs up, because it actually helps YouTube to share with other women, and that's our goal, is to get this message of living life fully and happily and joyfully in your 60s is all about. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't. I'd love to have you here with us. We've got so much going on 60andMe, and I hope that you enjoy our content, and I look forward to sharing another video with you in the future. Okay, everybody, well, take really good care of yourselves. Get that pen and paper out and start writing. And let us know how you do. Take really good care, everybody. Bye-bye for now.